All right, guys, welcome back to another video. And this is the Red Shirt Report. Now, you're probably excited that you're getting content on a Friday. I'm excited too. I'm excited to deliver it to the fans. I know you guys want it, and I'm here to deliver it. Now, the Red Shirt Report is your home for college football. We got NFL content on Monday, and if you're here for college football, then I got you, man. Tune in every Friday to get your episodes of the Red Shirt Report. I'll be breaking down college football, giving my takes, giving my opinions, stats, the whole nine yards. Now, let's jump into the video. I'm going to start off by talking about Miami versus Florida State and Vandy versus Alabama. So let's jump into the video. Tap in and subscribe. Your brain wants to smoke. Now, boys, Florida State versus Miami. That's going to be a big time matchup. It's been a while since Florida's been on ABC, since they've been a prime time prime time game. I feel like it's been forever, but there is kind of a lot of drama here. You got a rivalry game, especially in the ACC. I feel like with Clemson disappointing, I mean, everyone they did not live up to expectations at all. It's really looking like Miami's going to run away with it if they win. If they win against Florida State, then the rest of the year for them is pretty easy. They don't won't really have any challenges. So as I'm concerned, I see this being a game for Miami. I think they're going to control the ball. They're going to do what they've been doing, which is trust Carson Beck to make the right choices, which through these 6 weeks he really has. I mean, he's played phenomenal. I just want to talk about a guy who's had a complete turnaround, went from being a hated guy in Georgia, leaving on some pretty bad terms, not having the best year, being injured, all that stuff, to coming back to Florida, where he's from, having an amazing year, putting a program back on the map and cementing it as one of the best teams in all of college football. And they did it too with a lot of transfer guys. I know they brought in a lot of transfers at wide receiver as well as their secondary, but whatever they've done is working amazing. I mean, the record speaks for itself. Third in the nation. I mean, they're just playing at a whole nother level. And I think that as long as they don't do what they did last year, which was drop some games that they should have won, then I see this being a team that could go undefeated. Um, I think it's going to be tough to stop them. And especially for Florida State after coming off that loss against Virginia, they need this game too. Um, yeah, Tommy Castellanos played good. Struggled a bit against, I feel like in that Virginia game, they kind of let them get too close. The defense wasn't really there that we've seen through the first couple of weeks. I think if you're Florida State, has to be a must-win game, especially for Mike Norvell. I mean, up and down that he's had as his tenure as coach of Florida State is pretty wild. I mean, to go from not being chosen in the playoffs when you should have been, arguably should have been, to then completely falling off the face of the earth and being irrelevant as a team, to going back to being good and being ranked. I mean, they've been all over the place. And I think if you're Mike Norvell, Tommy Castellanos, you've got to get this win. You've got to play like you did against Alabama. That's truly the only way to keep yourself relevant given that ACC is very weak. I mean, Clemson is not doing good. Like the whole conference, I think is the weakest conference out of the Power Four, um, and it's very top heavy. I mean, it's top heavy. You've only got Miami. That they've been really the only program that has out of the ACC that has proved themselves, with the exception of Florida State. If Florida State loses, I think the argument can be made that they themselves aren't the team that we thought they were when they beat Alabama a couple weeks ago. And if they can't do that, then I don't think I find it very hard for them to make the playoffs come December, having those two losses and having those both be ACC losses. That's just unacceptable for Virginia. That's just unacceptable for Florida State. And I think that they're going to have to correct course and find a way to win. They've got to shut down that passing game because that's truly how Carson Beck's operated is through with his arm through the passing game. If they can shut that down, similar to how they did against Ty Simpson back when they played Alabama, then I think they've got a good chance. But I just don't see it happening. So I've got to give my props to Miami. I'm going to take them to win. I think first half will be close, but eventually Miami's going to find their foot on the ground. They're going to find it way earlier than Florida State will, and second half will probably be a blowout. Now, as for Vanderbilt, Alabama, this game, I've been thinking about this game so much. It's truly hard to decide. I mean, you're looking at Alabama coming off a big time win against Georgia, where you could always tell that they were going to win, right? Even after Georgia scored, it never felt like Georgia was in a place where they could truly come back and win. It was always like Alabama, they kind of just always played better throughout the course of the game. Like it was never a doubt where I was like, "Oh, Georgia could take the lead." That never happened. I think that for Alabama, it was a huge time win, especially for Kalen DeBoer, because at least I've heard a lot from the Alabama locker room about, "Oh, he might not be the guy," or you hear players sneaking out at midnight or 1, 2 in the morning to go hang out, party, bring some girls back to their hotel room, that kind of thing, which under Nick Saban was unacceptable. Now, how true those rumors are, no idea. But one thing that is for certain is that those rumors never circulated when Saban was around, and for a good reason, because Saban was running a tight ship. And I think some were beginning to wonder if Kalen DeBoer could do what Saban did and get a championship. No one's asking him to be just like Saban. That's not the expectation. There's only one Nick Saban. There will never be another Nick Saban. But the expectation is for a program like Alabama that you're gonna go out and win when you're supposed to win, and they haven't really had that. So for them to go to Georgia, to Athens to get the win is pretty good. And, they've got the home crowd advantage. I mean, the stadium's gonna be crazy, but I have to say, I think Vanderbilt really has a chance, and I think that they win this game. I mean, you look at what they did last year as a team, and last year they were not undefeated when they met Alabama, right? This was a team that had their ups and downs last year, but they were never truly in it. They were never a contender. I was never like, I think Vanderbilt's going to win the SEC. I think Diego Pavia is going to win a Heisman. That was never the conversation. It was just a surprise win against an Alabama team that we thought was going to win and dominate that game. Fast forward a year later, right? They're playing at Alabama. Vanderbilt's undefeated. And they've blown out every single opponent. They've never really been in a position where they've had their backs against the wall. Now, granted, the only true opponent that they did play was South Carolina, and Lenore Sellers went down. But even in that game, they still had complete and total dominance, and they did whatever they wanted to do against South Carolina. And I think it's going to be the same thing. Will it be a tougher matchup than South Carolina? Absolutely, 100%. But I think when it comes down to which team I think is going to win, I've got to give it to Vandy. Vanderbilt's just the better team, I think. They've played like it through the first 5 weeks. And when you've got a guy like Pavia that is the center of your team, that is the culture, the entire foundation of your team, you better believe he's going to go out there and get you wins, and I think that's what's going to happen on Saturday in Alabama. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm calling it. I wouldn't be surprised if Vanderbilt finds a way to win this game to move to 6-0, potentially knocking Alabama out of the playoff picture. Now, guys, with that in mind, those are the two big games. I'm going to move to who I think will win each conference. Starting with the weakest Power Four conference, in my opinion, which is Miami. Um, like I said, I think the ACC is not talented at all. I think that there's been a lot of disappointments. I think with Clemson, I mean, we thought Clemson would be a like, we thought they were gonna be contenders for the national title. They have not done that. They've been absolutely awful. It's an off year by Dabo Sweeney, to say the least, and this Clemson roster, but they're terrible. SMU, I wasn't expecting them to be good, but I at least expect them to get some wins. They have been terrible as well, showing to me at least that the success that they had might have been a one-time thing. Even North Carolina, again, the expectation was that they were going to win a couple games, might be somewhat competitive. No one was going to say North Carolina is going to win the ACC because that's just at that point, you just don't know ball if you think that's what's going to happen. But North Carolina has been they've been an absolute mess. It's a circus show to watch. Like they've been terrible. The only team that's really done good is Miami, which we expected them to be, and they've lived up to expectations. I think, again, like I said, if they beat Florida State on Saturday, then they will win the ACC. Because after that game, they don't really have any tough matchups. They already played their tough matchups. They took down Notre Dame. They beat Florida State, and that's really about it. As long as they can continue to win games, as long as you don't drop any games that you're supposed to win like they did last year, I think Mario Cristobal and Carson Beck are going to get the job done, and you could be looking at a potentially undefeated team by the end of the season. And it all starts with this game against Florida State. They win, they make the SEC. I mean, Carson Beck, you have to consider him as a Heisman. So it's just if the, there, that's really it. I mean, there's no other team that's played better than Miami has in their conference. And with the quarterback like Carson Beck to be able to dish it out like he has, I mean, I think it'll be Miami by a landslide. It's not going to be close. Now, moving on to the Big 12. Now, the Big 12, I think, is confusing. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I think that there are so many interesting teams in the Big 12 that it's kind of hard for anyone really to go and pick, I think this is going to be the team that wins. Like that's just the truth. I mean, you've got Iowa State, Arizona, even like Cincinnati is doing decent this year. I think the entire Big 12, they may not be a prime time game, but their games are interesting, and then especially with that conference games too, like when they're playing when they're playing another Big 12 opponent, those games are close. They're tough matchups. They're physical. It's definitely an interesting conference to watch, even if the times are at like 10:30 at night or whatever it may be. They're definitely fun to watch. Now, I was thinking about this, and I was initially going to say that Iowa State is going to win the Big 12. They've got the defense. They've got a quarterback in Rocco Beck. And for a team like Iowa State to have a good quarterback is pretty rare. It's kind of unheard of. So I was going to say that Iowa State initially, but I kept coming back to Arizona State. I don't know why. I just kept thinking about Kenny Dillingham and Sam Leavitt. I kept coming back to them. Now I know they had that loss against Mississippi State, but with all due respect, that game, they should have won that game. I think that game should have been winnable, and it should have been a game that Arizona State won. Since then, they've gotten back on track. They do have to play Iowa State. I think they meet week 8, week 9, but they do play on each other. And I think that'll be the true test for Arizona State. And if they can win against tough defense and a quarterback like Rocco Beck, then I think that they will easily win the Big 12. I mean, Sam Levitt, with so many quarterbacks now who are athletic and who are all these five-star recruits and who are playing at a high level or who we talk about being generational prospects or Heisman level candidates, I feel like Sam Leavitt's name doesn't get mentioned, which I'm not really sure why, because I think that he has the talent to be successful in the NFL and to take his team on a run. I mean, we saw what he did in the playoffs last year. Sam Leavitt along with Cam Scatterboo, almost single-handedly took down Texas in the playoffs last year. Now, I'm not saying that Arizona State's going to go and win the national championship. I don't believe that, but I do believe in Kenny Dillingham and what he has done with this program, and I also believe in Sam Leavitt. His physicality, his toughness is on a whole nother level. I don't think many other college quarterbacks have the same level of toughness and grittiness as Sam Leavitt does. I mean, you look at him, he's not the tallest guy. I mean, he's 6'2". He's not the fastest. Like, he's not like a pure scrambler. He's not a pure pocket passer, but everything he does well. Like there really isn't a weakness or a glaring at least a glaring weakness to his game because he kinda does everything really well. He's a well-balanced player, and if for Kenny Dillingham, it works perfect for the offense that he runs in at Arizona State, at Tempe. I mean, that's just the truth. Now, I think too, they've got a wide receiver down there, Jordan Tyson, who has been amazing. Jordan Tyson is him. Like, I think there's some real talent with him, and the connection that he's shown with Sam Leavitt gives me hope that they can salvage their season, even though they lost early on, that they can recover, fix what they needed to fix, which as of right now, they have from that loss against Mississippi, and go on and win the Big 12. I think that they have the best shot to do so. Right now, they're 25th in the nation, kind of being counted out like they were last year. No one really expects them to do much, but that's where they were last year. And look what they did. They went on that playoff run, almost, almost took down Texas. I think we could see a situation like that come playoff time where they're giving an SEC or a Big Ten team a run for their money in the playoffs. And I don't think any other Big 12 team is capable of doing that except maybe for Iowa State. And that's a maybe because I'm still not completely sold on Rocco Becht and this offense. I'm not completely sold on it. They're good, don't get me wrong, but I think what Dillingham has done with Levitt and this offense at ASU gives me more confidence in them than Iowa State. So I think I have to take Arizona State winning the Big 12. Now, the Big 10, this one was tough. I know that Ohio State is number 1 in the rankings right now, but I think it should be Oregon. I think Oregon is the team to beat in the Big 10. They're coming off that win against Penn State. Granted, it did go into overtime, but if you were watching that game from start to end, there was never any doubt that Oregon would lose that game. Even when the game was tied and went into overtime, it was never like, "Oh, I think Oregon's going to lose this game." Penn State was never in it. They just weren't. There was clearly a team that wanted it more, and that was Oregon. And they wanted it more, so they won. They got Penn State out of the way. They'll face Washington. They got Indiana next week, but I think Indiana they should handle Indiana easy. They were able to contain Drew Aller and that Penn State offense. They were able to Dante Moore and DeCorian Moore. That connection was able to power through that rough Penn State defense. Um, Indiana, I think they'll handle them easy. Then afterwards, they kind of have some bottom tier teams in the Big Ten. I know they play Washington, um, those kinds of games where it might be close for like a quarter or two, but they'll find a way to win. Defensively, I think they're a lot better defensively this year than they were last year. I don't know what it is, but they just have more physicality. There was that crazy interception. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I can't remember his name. Sorry to whoever that is. But dude made a crazy interception. Like some like a just a great play on defense, right? To seal the game and to pretty much get Oregon the win at Penn State. So I think that at least in my mind, Oregon is going to win, and they've got a Heisman candidate, the Heisman front runner actually, as of right now, plus 600 in Dante Moore. Dante Moore has played incredible, and this is like his first full season starting, being the full-time starter, and he has absolutely balled out. And for Dan Lanning to be able to somehow get quarterback after quarterback after quarterback is just amazing. And to be able to grow and let them develop, because Dante Moore could have transferred. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but Dante Moore was sitting on the bench last year and the year before, right? He was sitting on the bench waiting for his opportunity while Dylan Gabriel was going out there and balling out every week, right? Dylan Gabriel leaves, he goes to the draft, right? Gets drafted, and now it's Dante Moore's turn to step up. And he's had that time to develop, to sit, to learn, to watch another great guy go out there and ball. And that helped him develop his game and become who he is as the quarterback, which we are now watching. So, at least in my mind, to me, I think Oregon wins. And another reason I'll tell you this too. And if there's any Michigan fans out there, you're gonna like this. Ohio State fans, you're gonna hate this. The one thing that Ryan Day hasn't done a good job of is find a way to win against Michigan. For whatever reason, he can't win against Michigan. And I think that they'll probably lose to Michigan again. Bryce Underwood is starting to pick up some steam. Now, Michigan isn't going to win the Big Ten, but you better believe in a rivalry game, Bryce Underwood, Justice Haynes, this entire Michigan team is going to bring it against Ohio State. And if they could potentially either get them out of the playoffs or have them be a lower seed in the playoffs, they're going to do that out of spite. Even if Michigan themselves aren't in a position to make the playoffs, they will out of spite. And Ohio State still has to play Penn State as well as Illinois. Now, I think Ohio State will beat Illinois, but they have put on a show. They have put on some good quality football, and that quarterback they have too has been pretty solid. But they still have Penn State and Michigan after that. So I really don't see Ohio State winning the Big Ten. I've got to give it to Oregon. I think they've just played better. And I think you're looking at a situation where they could be an undefeated team at the end of the year. That wouldn't be a foolish assumption to say that they're undefeated come December. And now, out of the Power Four, the conference that gave me the most trouble was by far the SEC. By far. I think that they're confused. It's not confusing like the Big 12, but there's so many options and routes that you can go with to figure out who's going to win this conference. Now, what I'm about to say is going to sound foolish. It's going to sound crazy. You're going to call me crazy. And for that, I say, that's your right. You can call me crazy, but I want you to humor me for a moment. Okay. The team that I think is going to win the SEC is the Vanderbilt Commodores. Now, you're probably throwing your phone, your laptop, whatever, and you're like, what on earth are you talking about? What are you doing? You don't know ball. And to that, I say, I do know ball. I do know. And let me remind you, it is only week 6. I could be completely wrong come December, but it is not a crazy assumption to say that Vanderbilt is going to win the SEC. It truly isn't. And let me tell you why. They play Alabama this week at Alabama. If they get the win against Alabama, that puts them at 6-0, right? That puts them at 6-0. At that point, you'd have to consider them a contender for the SEC. That backfield of Diego Pavia, Cedric Alexander, they got another guy. Like, this is a team that is purely made out of grit. Like they've got the grit, they've got the X factor, that swagger especially with Pavia. Pavia's got the swagger that I don't think I've seen in any other college quarterback in the nation. He knows his talent, he knows his worth. He may brag about it, he may be arrogant a little, but he's backing it up and going and absolutely balling every single game, dropping dimes, doing all this stuff. I mean, it's not a crazy thing to consider. And let me tell you about Pavia. He's sixth in the nation in completion percentage, just at 74%. Now he hasn't thrown the most passes, but out of that volume, he is sixth in the nation in completion percentage. That means something. When you're dropping dimes, when you can't miss your receiver, your tight end, or whoever it is you're throwing to, that that matters. That makes a difference. They've blown out every single team they've played. And I think that the one weakness of Alabama defensively is that they don't really have a pass rush, right? They haven't really had a good pass rush. Ugh, can't talk. Sorry, guys. And that's been seen. If you look at the tape, if you look at the game, that's something that we've seen that they haven't really developed and or looked at, which you have to wonder, will that be a problem against Vandy? And I think it will be, and I think Vanderbilt's going to exploit that. You're going to see Pavia slinging it. He, whether it be short throws or deep downfield, he is going to be slinging that football because he knows, or he at least should know, that that rush is going to be weak, that he isn't really going to be receiving a lot of pressures or a lot of quarterback hits from any Alabama D lineman or linebacker. He just isn't. And if they win against Alabama, right, the sky's the limit for them. I truly believe that. Now, they've got a bye week after this week, right? Then they play LSU at home. LSU is a winnable game. It really is. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier hasn't really delivered. That defense is pretty weak, pretty shallow defense. I think that Vandy can go, they'll be at home, and I think that they can go walk in their stadium, and Pavia can do what he does best. He can talk the trash that he's going to do, and they beat LSU, right? So if they beat LSU, that takes them to 7-0. Then they've got Missouri. Now, Missouri's played good, but I don't think that they have the quarterback or the quarterback that's going to get them the win like Pavia will, right? Still humor me, okay? If you're still watching, humor me. They take down Missouri at home once again, 8-0. The true test will be Texas. Texas has they've I mean, they had a rough start, but they're starting to find their footing and they're still Texas. You still have to worry about Arch Manning, right? You still got to worry about that defense. If they take down Texas, even if they lose Texas, let's say that they lose against Texas. They lose that game, they fall to 8-1, right? After that, they've got two easy home games to finish out the year at Auburn against Hugh Freeze, who may or may not still be the coach at that time. Then you've got Kentucky at home, which they should win against Kentucky. And to finish out the year, they've got Tennessee. Now, last year, they got blown out by Tennessee. It wasn't really close. So I think that they could lose that game against Tennessee, but I want to go back to that Texas game. If any of you were watching that game last year, where it was Vandy, Texas, that game was close through three quarters, even in the beginning of the fourth. Now, Pavia and that Vanderbilt offense ultimately weren't able to get much going. And at that point, the defense had kind of been tired out. So Texas was just able to kind of go and get some easy points, and they were able to win that game. But this team has improved drastically since they last faced Texas. So I do think that there's a possibility that they beat Texas. So let's say that they do beat Texas, right? Come at the end of the year, you could be looking at a potentially undefeated team, or at least an undefeated team in the SEC in Vanderbilt. Now, At Tennessee, I don't know. I mean, Neyland Stadium is a tough atmosphere to go and play in, and especially to win. But if there's a quarterback who is built for that kind of situation, for that kind of pressure, it is Diego Pavia. Like, how many quarterbacks do you see go and willing to get into fights with anyone or are willing to go and block just so that way their teammate can get an extra couple of yards? Not many quarterbacks are willing to do that. Pavia is. He's got that grit, that confidence, that swagger. And again, this could be a hypothetical. And if Alabama wins, you could be looking at me like, what are you talking about? You're a crazy fool. But I think that this is an interesting option. It's intriguing, and it's one that hasn't really been mentioned. Like the narrative is just, oh, Vanderbilt's 5-0, Pavia is playing great, but that's really it. No one considers them a true contender in the SEC. And week one, it's not like this was an opinion I had week one that they were going to win the SEC, but watching them play, and we're in week six now, and they've continued to dominate every single team they've played, gives me some confidence in them. And I think that if they go, and I truly believe this, that if they go and they beat Alabama on the road, that you're looking at a legit contender to win the SEC and to get a playoff spot. Like I truly believe that, and I think that Pavia needs to be mentioned in the Heisman conversation for what he's done. He doesn't have the most passing yards, right? But he's leading the team in passing, in rushing, right? He's doing everything he can to help his team win. And I think that that says a lot. That says a lot. And with the confidence that he has, I don't think it's crazy to assume or to think about the fact that Vanderbilt is a legit contender. Now, if you said this to me last year, I would have been like, no chance, no chance. But their roster's improved drastically. And for the coach, Clark Leah, he's kind of saved his job because I think in a lot of ways, last year was good, but things could have gone better. This year, things are going incredibly well. And a lot of that is due to the fact of Clark Leah going out there, going to get players, going to the transfer portal, bringing guys in, that kind of thing. So I don't think that it's crazy to assume that Vanderbilt could go on this run. Now, guys, I'm going to wrap up the video. Let me just say who else I think will make the playoffs. I'm just going to briefly go over this. I do think you got Ohio State. I do think that they could be a one-loss team come Michigan, but I do think that they make the playoffs. Ole Miss has played good, and they've got not one, but two quarterbacks who have proven themselves and have shown they could go out and play. So I do think that you've got Ole Miss as a team to watch out for, and they'll definitely make the playoffs. You've got Oklahoma. They're eventually going to get their quarterback. He's eventually going to come back from that hand injury, John Mateer. And I think he was having a hell of a season before. If Oklahoma can find a way to win without him until he gets back, then I think they'll definitely make the playoffs. I got to have Tennessee in there. Um, Joey Aguilar, fifth year guy. I was a little skeptical about him, but he's really revived that offense, and I think that's not going to change. I do see them making the playoffs. I've got Georgia. You can never count out Georgia and Kirby Smart and Gunnar Stockton. He's just a true football player. He's just a true pocket passer, and I like what he does too. What he has to bring to the table for Georgia. Um, Iowa State, I do think they make it, even if they lose against Arizona State. I do think that they make the playoffs just because of how well they have played. Penn State, I will include them in this, even though that they will lose to Ohio State, but they made it last year, so I do believe they'll be in a situation where they make it again this year. And the last team I have is Florida State. I think even if Florida State loses against Miami, I think if they can win out the rest of their games in their conference, I think that they could potentially be a team that makes it into the college football playoffs. I don't think that's a crazy take to assume that Florida State could sneak in there at number 12 and make the playoffs. All right, guys, that wraps up the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for dealing with my possibly, potentially crazy or not crazy, reasonable takes. And tap in and subscribe. Your brain wants the smoke. Thank you, guys.